Hello guys, today we'll be modeling UV unwrapping and texturing this butcher's knife using Blender and Substance Painter. Let's get to it. The setup process for the project is quite simple. We're going to create some collections, we're going to set up some plugins, add-ons, and we're going to just rearrange some stuff, and then finally the final thing we're going to do is add in a reference so that I have something to explain off. Okay, first we're going to get rid of our cube as we don't need it. We're going to create the following 3 collections, one for the models, one for the reference, and then one for rendering. So this is where you would put your lights and cameras and all those things inside. You can see I won't be doing rendering in this video, so you guys will at the end just have to check the Chesterfield sofa. It has quite nice explanation of how I did the rendering for that video, and I do the lighting and the setup for the rendering exactly the same in this in the intro scene. I used exactly the same steps and techniques. So let's go enable our add-ons. We go over to preferences. Next we're gonna go into add-ons. We're gonna search for Node Wrangler. We're gonna enable it, checking the little box. Next we're gonna enable loop tools. We'll be using the loop tools to make some circles and bridge some loops, and we'll be using the Node Wrangler to simplify the texturing process once we are done in some Substance Painter and coming back to Blender. Let me just close that because that's not a good idea. Next I'm gonna paste in my reference as I've already copied it from the final project. With the references ready, I'm going to start modeling. First, we're going to add a cube. We're going to set its size to 10 centimeters. We're going to change its size by going to its properties, item. We want to change its dimensions. This is going to be the cube we're going to use for the blade. We're going to change its dimensions as follow. We want to change this one to 17 centimeters. We want to change the Y, which would be the thickness of the blade, to 2 millimeters. And our height is already the correct height. We'll adjust it in a bit. We'll take about 5 millimeters off the top over here and then increase it by another centimeter or so over here. See, as you can see, our blade is now the correct thickness. Okay, we're gonna go into edit mode. We're gonna add 7 loops. We're gonna add another 2 loops. Add 2 loops. And we're gonna add a final loop up here. This is where we're going to add in our hole. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to enable X-ray mode so we can actually see through the knife, because there's a couple of adjustments we want to make to get our curvature. Okay, so first we're going to go into vertex select. Select these vertices. These ones we want to move up 5 millimeters. 0.005. I want to do 3 millimeters for these. 3. And then 1 millimeters for these. Should give us a nice shape to our blade. A little bit flat at the middle, which is where your blade will usually make contact, and then the rocking motion to cut through the meat or vegetables, whatever you want to do with it. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab this edge over here. We're going to also bevel it 7 times. You can do 6 or 7, doesn't really matter. 5 would also work. But the more you add, the more round it will be. We're going to merge some of these vertices in a moment anyway. Okay, now that we have our blade in place over here, press Alt M by distance, which will merge these 4 vertices. So the ones that are over here, and the same for the ones that are over here. We're going to grab these vertices over here, and the G and the Z by 1 centimeter. First we want to activate our smooth and our connected. Keep increasing it. In this case it should be 0.07, which should give us exactly the shape we require. I'm gonna grab this one. I think it's basically all of these. Go down 5 millimeters. -0.005 without any influence, so you can basically just turn that off. You can move the first, second, third one up 1 millimeter, and it should now be perfect. You can grab all the edges from the first one. Since this one is technically just straight down, we can just grab it and just align all of those along to the most back one. I want to change it to active element, so it does not take like the average, but it just sets them all to the same Z height as this one. SZ0. Do the same for these ones. SZ0. Next we're gonna go and add our bevel over here. We're gonna do that by adding an edge loop around the blade like that. Grab these edges. Same for the other side. Go back to front view. Gonna move them up by 1 centimeter. Perfect. We have a 1 centimeter edge over here, which gives us the sharp edge of the blade. Now we're gonna add in our hole. It's pretty easy. We're gonna bevel a vertex. Shift Control B, and okay, before we do this, you're gonna see we're gonna run into a little problem. You're gonna see our edges are not equally far from the distance. This is exactly what I want to show. So we're gonna go undo that. We're gonna tab out of this. You're gonna see our scales are not uniform. We're gonna apply our scales by Shift Control A. Control A, and then you can just apply everything. All transforms should be fine. Now we can try the bevel again. Perfect. We want to do a bevel of 0.15. I think is what I tested with. 0.15. Yes. Next, we're going to delete all the faces. We're gonna select all the edges. So just grab your edge select. Select. Same for the other side. Select. If we have both sets of edges selected, we're gonna turn it into a circle now. And finally, we can bridge the edge loops. As you can see, we now have a perfect circle. Everything else should look fine. I'm now going to go and hide the blade, since our blade is now finished. Next, we're going to move over to the handle. It's also got a couple of exact measurements. We're going to add ourselves another cube. This cube we can set to the following dimensions. Let's go over here. We want to change it to be 13 as our total knife's length would be 30 centimeters. So 17 for the blade, 13 for the handle. So we're going to set it 13 in the x-axis. We want to set it to 2 centimeters in the y-axis. Zero, 2. Perfect. Finally, we want to go to our height and we want to do a 4 centimeters. So we're just gonna turn that into 0.4. Perfect. We can now grab this one and offset it by G in the X. Okay, we're going to turn on snapping. Okay, you want to do increment, absolute grid, and then just turn on snapping. Offset it by that's exactly the amount. So we want to offset it by 15 centimeters in the X and then 3 centimeters in the Z. This should give us exactly the location we want. The next step is to go into edit mode. We're gonna add amount. We're gonna add 5 cuts. I'm gonna grab a couple of these vertices, this one, and this one. G and the Z 0, 1. I'm gonna grab this one, G and the X1, dot 0, 1, and the negative. We're gonna add another edge loop over here. I'm gonna bevel this one. We're just gonna set it to a single segment. And we want to do clamp. Now we're gonna go and add ourselves a modifier. We're gonna go to generate. We're gonna select subdivision surface. This should give us exactly the shape which we require. Next, we're gonna go and add ourselves this one in. I'm gonna grab this one, G and the Z, negative 0, 1. It should just G and the Z, negative 0. Move it 1 centimeter down. We're gonna add a supporting edge loop over here. Drag it all the way up until the edge. We want to move it 90% of the way, so the factor would be negative dot 9. So that will give us 90% from the middle point this way. We want to have 2 levels for the subdivision surface. I'm gonna turn off my handle, so I'm just gonna hide both. Or actually, I just disable the whole set. We should now be able to say shade smooth, and we're done for the modeling. We have recreated our knife exactly. Let me just get ready for the next step. Cleanup of the mesh is going to be quite simple. We're basically going to remove one edge, and then the rest of the mesh is just going to stay as is. We'll apply the modifiers a bit later once we're starting to prepare for UV unwrapping. So we're going to enter it. We're going to go over to edge select. Select this edge around here. And then we're just going to dissolve the edges. And that's all that we're going to do for this mesh. This other part you can clean up if you want to. For instance, you can try and merge these ones over in here. and then somehow merge these ones over here, but it's not that important. This mesh is good enough. So that's it for the cleanup. The next step is the UV unwrapping. The blade is quite fast, and then we're going to have a little bit more work to do with the handle. Okay, we're going to go into edit mode. We're going to turn off X-ray. We're going to go edge select. Select these edges. Same for the back side. Select that edge. And other side, we're going to select the opposite edge. This will split our circle into 2 strips, and then of course mark the edges for the blade. And we're going to say mark seam. Next we're going to grab this edge over here. We're going to say mark seam. While we're over here, we can, let me just show you something. We're going to say, at the moment you can see these are sharp. We don't want it like that. Gonna right click, gonna say auto shade smooth by angle. Then we're gonna see we lose this edge over here, which is not that good. We're gonna select this edge over here. Same with the one on the other side. We're gonna press and mark sharp. Now we should keep our edge over here. Our blade is now ready for UV unwrapping, as we have all the seams marked. We're gonna move over to the handle. Make sure subdivision is set to 2 and a render level of 2. Apply it. UV unwrapping for this mesh is quite simple. We are gonna start with these edges over here. You want to check where the poles are. So those are the ones that have any number of vertices that are like 3 or 5, something like that. It's not like 4. You can pick those ones. They should just end like this. Shouldn't go all the way around. Okay, we're gonna say mark sharp and also mark seam. We're gonna do the same with the back ones. For the back ones, we want to grab let's do this one. Grab it like that, and you want to grab it like that. So those are going to be the ones we want to mark. Say mark seam. Now we're gonna basically just click from there until we reach the front. It should be that one. Yes. Let's say mark seam. We're gonna do exactly the same at the bottom. You can just go inside your blade, or you can just hide the blade if you want to. And then just select all the way to the back. It should be this middle one. Mark seam. Everything is looking good, you should have your seams marked as follows. The UV unwrapping process is quite simple. We're gonna go over to UV editing mode. UV should appear over here. We're gonna select both of them. I'm gonna press tab, select anywhere, press A to select everything, U, and then say unwrap. You should now have a mesh that looks something like this. We're going to probably notice that there's some scaling problems, because that I don't think is how big it actually is. So we're just going to Control A out of it, apply all transforms to make sure our scales are uniform. I'm going to select both meshes, press U and unwrap again. Yes, that looks more like how the mesh should be. You should have a margin of 1%, which is perfectly fine. Next, we're gonna go over to just select everything, UV, and then we're gonna try and do pack islands. This will just rotate the stuff a bit and then fit it nicer together. We want to increase our scale from 0.1% to 1%. Okay, and it's gonna pack it nice and tight, so we have far larger areas for the textures. Gonna notice some stretching over here, and the same for the other corner. This is this corner right here. Let me just go and show you. They want me to basically add a seam over here, which you can do. You mark seam. I'm gonna go out here over again. Grab both, all. You unwrap. We're gonna select everything again. UV, pack islands. Again with the 0.01 as our margins. Press OK. And now there should be far less stretching. There's enough space for everything to go around. At this point, we're ready to move on to the next step. The export process for this model is quite simple. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to set up a material and we're going to set up vertex paints for the material once we go over to Substance Painter. Okay, first we're going to go tab out into just object mode. Then we're going to go over to one of the other layouts. We can do modeling. We can make sure all of our transforms are set as follows. Our scale should be this, and then your object should be roughly these sizes. Again, a couple of centimeters here or there won't make much of a difference, but if you go over into the meters, it's going to make quite a bit, because it's going to change how you, what values you're going to have to change in Substance Painter to get it to look similar. So I'm assuming your object is similar to these sizes and already has this uniform scale of 1. Okay, we're going to join our two objects. We're going to go over to our materials, add a new one. I'm going to call it knife. Now we're going to go over, now that we have our material, because we use the material, so if you want to give it a precise name of what you're going to use for your model, it's going to be exactly the same name that it uses to generate the textures once we export it from Substance Painter. Next, we're going to go over to Vertex Paint. We're going to turn on the mask. Next, we're going to go and create ourselves a color palette. We're going to need 3 colors. I don't want white. Give us 3 colors as far apart as possible. So in this case, I'm going to do an R, a G, and a B. So I've got 3 colors. I have 3 colors for 3 reasons. We're going to paint the handle one color. We're going to paint the blade one color, and then the sharp part of the blade we're going to paint a different color, so it has a look closer to where you would have if you have sharpened the blade's edge. So a bit more scratches and stuff like that. Okay, now we're going to go in. We're going to select the handle. We're going to, blue's fine. We're going to press Ctrl and X. As that will flood fill the area. We're gonna press L on the blade. Okay, just click anywhere so you deselect everything. Press L on the blade. We're gonna flood fill the whole blade for now with the green. Then finally, we're just gonna go and select this bottom faces. It goes all the way around. Or at least on both sides. We're not gonna select the one in the front. Basically select this row of faces, and then this row of faces. I'm just gonna turn on my screen keys again, because it seems to not like changing between different views, windows. So I'm gonna select it again. Select the other side again. Tab out again. Paint this one red. This just simplifies the process of allowing us to apply different materials to different vertex colors, instead of trying to use a gradient to apply only the wear to the bottom of the edge and so on. We can now go out of vertex paint mode. Our object is now ready. We go File, Export, FBX. You can pick a location of where you're going to export it, but I put my exported models in exactly the same place as where you put your Blender file for the project. You're going to create a models folder underneath it, and then you're going to export it as whatever you want to call this model. In this case, I just put blade. You're going to do selected objects, you're going to do mesh, and that's about it that you're going to change for now. The rest should be fine. Export FBX, and now we're ready to move on to the next step. You're now welcome to save your project and continue, and we'll continue in Substance Painter in the next step. With Substance Painter open, we can start the texturing process. First, we're gonna get our model. Select, you navigate to wherever your model is located, and then select the FBX folder file. Then we're gonna change our resolution to 2K, since I'm gonna do all the textures in 2K resolution. Okay. After a bit of waiting, you should see your model in front of you. We're gonna delete this layer. This is gonna be the name of the material, so this is whatever you set in Blender. So the different textures will have knife, dash, normal, and. We go over to texture settings, press that one, make maps. We change our output size to the desired resolution of the textures. You can go high if you want to, but I'm gonna stay with 2K since the other textures are quite intensive on most computers. I'm going to go to ID. We set the colors up, so they're the 3 colors, the one for the blade, the one for the edge, and then one for the handle. So we're going to use the vertex colors. Now with everything set up, we can now go and bake our textures. This will take a moment, depending on how fast your computer is. Okay, mine's done. I'm going to head back. We're going to do 3 textures, one for the blade, one for the edge, and then one for the handle. We're going to just extend this. I'm going to click on Smart Materials. I'm first going to put the textures on, and then we're going to go and customize some of the textures so they work a bit better. Have this wood, press Ctrl, and as long as you hold Ctrl in and you have it like your texture selected, you can just drag and drop it on whichever one of the colors. So in this case, I'm going to put it on the blue one since it's going to be the handle. Next, I'm going to get the metal for the blade. Aluminum brushed worn. Again, Control and then drag and drop. This is going to be for the blade itself. And then finally, we have silver armor for the edge. I'm making the edge different colors so you can more clearly see where it's been made sharp. Let's find that one. Silver armor, there it is. Silver armor, again, Control, and then drop. Now it looks like the blade has been sharpened quite a bit. Okay, now we're gonna fix the texture for the handle. Since I'll just show you in a moment. Let me just zoom in and then minimize this a bit. Okay, on this side, doesn't look too bad, but the moment you see there's a sharp seam over here, because that's where we placed the seam. All around the back, and in this side you see the texture runs in a completely different direction, which is a kind of a problem. We're gonna go and change the projection method of the textures. So I'm gonna switch back to layers. We're gonna head to our wooden texture. We're gonna go to the pattern. You're gonna click on the black side because this is the actual pattern. You're gonna click on wood. We're going to change our projection from a UV projection to triplanar, so it projects it from all of the sides. This is a little bit worse because now it's projecting from like vertically. Now it's projecting it like this. We're going to change the orientation by just undoing the rotation. Now you might notice a little bit of strangeness for these half rings of the wood. We're going to fix that by setting this texture to 2.4. I think it was. Or is it just 2.2? 2.2 gives us a nice wood texture. And now we do not have a problem with the seams anymore. You'll still notice there's a light seam going around most of the places. That's due to the other textures. So this one gives a top layer. We're gonna go and do the wood fibers next. Gonna scroll up, change the projection again to triplanar. That's gonna fix some of the other lines. Now we need to do the other lines. So that would be this pattern. Sorry, that's not triplanar. I want the wood fibers. Triplanar projection. Where is that? It's fine. This one has been done. Roughness, dirt fibers. I think it was this one. So we're going to just change this wood rough. Also turn that to triplanar. Now everything should look fine. There's no seams anymore. This line that you're seeing over here is just due to the actual vertices. And our blade should look perfectly normal. We can change the direction of this dirt, but I think it's fine. The up and down looks okay. Looks like that's where someone would hold it, like the inside of your palm. Also have the dirt over here where the blade meets the handle. So that's perfect. This matte handle doesn't look that great, so we're going to go and change the roughness. Go on the roughness. I'm going to go all the way down, and then we're going to just decrease this roughness to 0.2. Most materials are never a 0 roughness or like full roughness. They're usually like 0.8, 0.9, and then 0.2 at the lowest, most cases. Again, there are ones that require you to have like a 0, for instance, like a mirror. But like dirty glass would be like 0.2 and so on. So this gives us the illusion that it's been well polished. These lines are going up and down. This one. So these wood fibers are not playing along. Okay, okay. This triplanar just needs to change. The rotation needs to be set to 90. There. Now that fixes all the problems. Now you should have a nice looking blade. You can play around a bit with the pattern. If you, for instance, do not like this pattern, you can go over to this one, since this one determines the large rings. You can adjust it a bit to like 2.5. That might work. Or you can adjust it a bit more. 6, let's do 3. 3 is not going to work so well. 2.7. 2.7. 5, I think is going to be the best. 2.5, 2.6. At least this way it looks like it should be part of the grain. This doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to leave it as this, as is. Oh, we have a nice looking blade. Everything is fine. You can just click on any of the other textures and that should remove the triplanar projection box. We're going to head over to File. You're now going to save your project, because if you want to make more changes, you should then be able to. In case something crashes during the export. Okay, we're going to go export textures. We're going to now select where we should export to. I think I just closed that accidentally. Export textures. I'm going to change our location to where you would like to save the model's textures. So I'm going to drop this inside Butcher's Knife, and I think it should be fine here. Let's do 3D art immediately. Running models, because I want to drop mine inside here. You're going to change your output resolution. I'm going to change mine to 2K to make sure it exports 2K textures. You pick your template. You should have like a Blender one. Principal BSDF. File type is PNG. Everything else should be fine. And you just press export. It should now generate your textures. And we're ready to move on to the final step. With your textures ready, we're now back inside Blender, and we're going to start applying our textures to our model and finish up. Okay, we can head over to texture shading. We're going to click on our shader. Press Shift Control T. Shift Control T. Let me just turn on my hotkeys again. Yeah, that's working. Shift Control T. And now we're gonna navigate to your location where you saved your textures. Grab your textures like that. Should be everything. And then principal texture setup. Zoom in on the model. And our blade is ready. Just gonna save mine. This is where I'm going to leave you guys. From here on, you should just follow one of the previous tutorials about the lighting. The Chesterfield sofa has solid lighting setup. And then you should be able to complete the rest of the project on your own. While I'm out, have a nice day. Goodbye.